What's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of the Surf and Sales podcast. I think we're season 3, episode 5, I believe, in 2022. We're brought to you today and every day by our good friends and partners and sponsors at Scratchpad. Congrats on your Series B, as well as Sendoso. Check out the Surf and Sales Summit. We're sold out in May. We have some spots available in November still, surfandsales.com. Today, I'm here with my good friend, as always, and co-host Richard Harris. How's it going, Richard?
Very good. I'm excited for this conversation because
you got energy left after this training you just did?
Yeah, I am. I got plenty of energy, but that's why you're here.
Good. You had some green tea or something caffeinated?
Dude, I shot out of a cannon.
Yeah. All right. Good. Well, we're here today with Jason Lopez, who's the first-time director of sales at a little company called Journey. Welcome to the show, Jason.
Thanks, guys. Happy to be here.
Yeah. I want to give a little context on this one. When we do our Surf and Sales event, one of the things we do is there's this great little spot we call the Crow's Nest. And everybody who comes to Surf and Sales, if they want, we'll sit down with them, Scott, Jeff, and I, and just have a conversation about life, career, whatever it is they want to talk about, and give advice. They can take it or not take it, but they're part of what makes Surf and Sales really fun is it's meant to be a personal, intimate conversation. I posted something on LinkedIn to see if somebody wanted to do this and record it, and Jason responded. So Jason, welcome to the first ever Surf and Sales Crow's Nest podcast edition. So,
oh man, I'm a pioneer. I love it.
You are a pioneer. Yeah, I like that.
Get ready to get vulnerable.
I'm ready.
This one also is a little different. So, because we tend to let you ask a lot of questions in terms of what you're trying to do and what you're trying to accomplish. You're a first-time director of sales. Just for a little bit of context, how long have you been in sales? What roles have you had? Just so people understand as we have this conversation where you're coming from.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've been in sales for going on 14 years now. Started in banking, retail sales. Did that for about 7 years. Retail banking and business banking. Sold credit card processing as well for a while. And then kind of really just hated the corporate aspect of corporate life. Getting passed up for promotions, because someone else had more tenure or was just with the company for longer, or, because I was 24 years old and still perceived as like green behind the ears. And made a switch, transition into tech sales, and kind of the whole SaaS world. And really glad that I did now in 2022, because I don't think there's ever been a better time to be in tech sales. But I've held roles as an individual contributor, team lead, and now director of sales here at Journey.
Got it. So, first thing I'm going to say, I'm looking at your LinkedIn profile. If you hate the corporate world, get the tie picture off your profile.
Yeah.
That's the first thing. So
yeah, that's a good point.
Like in all honesty, I'll sit right there. I'm going to take a picture of you. For those of you who don't know, he's got a very casual, comfortable look, and he's got this really cool neon sign that says hustle.
Richard is currently acting as your professional photographer
which is not a good sign, by the way. So
no, I was talking literally last week with my wife about getting new headshots because, my current one, to your point, Richard, I have a tie, shirt and tie. Yeah. I don't have quite the beard that I have now. I need a new photo, definitely.
So I wouldn't get a headshot. I'd get that with the Scott. What do you think? Do you like the hustle thing behind him?
Yeah, I think it's great.
It's personable.
I think somebody's profile on LinkedIn should be an accurate representation of who they are as a person, and not some canned stock photo that you might find that where somebody's dressed fancier than normal or whatever. Like, my picture is a selfie that I took on the lake where I live with a backwards hat, right? Like, that's kind of just who I am, I guess, right?
So Jason, what made you want to come on here? Like I put out this thing of, hey, we'll answer questions and give advice and life and career advice. Let's just start there. Anything in particular on top of mind?
Yeah, a couple of things. I'm been going to TNS for a while now, member of Scott's Patreon. And so just the opportunity to come on and chat with you guys seemed like incredible. I don't know. I imagine you probably had thousands of people And if I'm wrong, then, all those people that follow you guys on LinkedIn are crazy. But also I kind of made a commitment to myself this year. I want to go on at least 6 podcasts this year. Sales podcasts seemed, like it would be right up my alley. I'm going to have a stronger focus on like hospitality podcasts as well. But just kind of putting myself out there, man, trying to put myself out of my comfort zone,
For what purpose? I love the goal that you set. 6 podcasts this year, once every 2 months. Yep. It's a good number, but it's not like too heavy where it's going to be disruptive to your schedule, right? But like, to what end? What's the purpose of that particular goal? You want to put yourself out there because why?
Yeah, I want, just candidly, I mean, the simple answer is to build my personal brand.
Good. Okay.
Great.
I think, for a lot of reasons, like for recruiting purposes, for, I love my company now, but it's 3 months. I've been here 3 months. It'd be crazy to think like I'm going to work here my entire career or life. So for a lot of reasons, building up my own personal brand and network. Yeah.
Let me push him on this, Richard, a little bit.
Go for it.
What other reasons might there be to go on to the podcast and have these conversations other than brand building, networking, recruiting? All of those are good answers, but what other reasons might there be?
In this particular podcast, learning, just education, exchange of ideas, I think is a good reason. Those are my biggest reasons.
What about the opportunity to present your own ideas and philosophies and thoughts on things in a public forum and kind of refine, your messaging or like what you're all about? So the first time you go on a podcast, maybe you ramble like mad, but by the 100th time you're on the podcast, you've got your messaging like short and tight, right? Yep. And that could potentially become a calling card to who you are as a salesperson and a sales leader. Like, this is my philosophy, in a 45-minute episode or a 30-minute episode or whatever. Food for thought there. Okay. Go ahead, Richard.
Appreciate that.
Okay. So when you are looking at what you want to accomplish, right? What are your sort of short and long-term goals, right? In terms of your life, in terms of your career, what do you want to do when you grow up?
Well, I just want to travel, man. Honestly, I just want to travel a lot, see the world. That's on a personal note. Professionally, short-term goals. I really, just want to crush my current role. Aspiring to land a VP sales role within the next, 3 years is my goal. Would love for it to be with my current company. I know that that's unrealistic. I know that a lot of directors get layered. I've had this conversation actually with Scott and Amy on TNS. So, expectations are not, those aren't my expectations, but that would be, what I would be shooting for. But just in the, in the short term, VP sales, and then in the long term, more 5 to 10 years, I would say, I would really like to get involved with more startups, investing, kind of the stuff that you guys are doing, and just helping other businesses get off the ground, refine their go-to-market strategy, refine their messaging, that kind of thing.
Okay, so what is the time horizon in your mind that you want to accomplish all of this? Or maybe a better question is, what is the time horizon to get to what sounds like your ultimate goal, which is just traveling? And then the time horizon before that, which is maybe when you cut the W-2 and you do some of this stuff on your own. And then what is your time horizon to become a VP? So I'm trying to chunk up these different segments of your career here.
Yeah, absolutely. So time horizon, or, what I would say for VP would be, in the next 3 years, that would be my goal. In the next 5 to 8, I would say cut the W-2.
Okay, so let's pause there for a second. Okay, so you're going to give yourself 3 years from now to become a VP of sales, right?
Yes.
That's what you said. Okay. So then you said 5 to 8 years more, I think, as a VP. So if it's 5 to 8 years as a VP, let's say you nail it and you do 2 4-year stints and they're both super successful or even moderately successful. That's a pretty good look, don't you think, Richard? And a good amount of credibility that someone might have. You were a VP of sales twice. You were there for 4 years, both times. You did quite well. That's pretty good credibility to maybe go out on your own and do this more at scale for a lot of different people. Do you agree?
It might be too much, right? Like how many VPs?
What do you mean too much?
Yeah. Well, how many VPs of sales last 4 years?
Almost none.
Right. That's step one.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe he has 3 gigs and they all last 2.5 years.
Right.
Yeah.
But I also think, and you know, I mean, Scott, I think this is what we coach everybody to is you have value right now, Jason. You could add value as a new director of sales. And, you know, we didn't talk about, you know, your approach to your brand, but sharing mistakes or thoughts or experiences. And you could build that brand and alongside all these other things so that, yeah, it looks good if you're a VP of sales to go be a consultant and do those things, but it's not necessarily required. Like, you know, like, I don't know if I've ever said, you know, my VP of sales role was at a very small company that sold computer locks, right? Like nothing major. And then everything else I had was director of sales. But I started early, sort of just commenting and writing shit on LinkedIn, you know.
Yeah.
And so one, I think, first of all, it's a great goal. And I do think it's helpful. There's financial gains to getting to that VP level, right? Whether it's an equity play, which is a whole other discussion, or, you know, straight up cash, you know, salary and more money. And, you know, you mentioned you have a wife. I don't know if you have kids yet. You know, there's some life shit.
Well, you're also potentially raising your price by the time you do go out on your own.
Right.
Which I think is pretty important.
Yeah. So anyway, so I don't know that you need to do 8 years as a VP of sales to go out. That's
I don't know that he needs to, but
it won't hurt.
In doing so, assuming you do well in those VP of sales roles, you're really like building a hell of a resume, you know, full of credibility.
Yes.
Giving yourself a chance for liquidity events, building a massive network of people that you've worked with and hired and all this kind of stuff, and raising your price when you do go out on your own. Right.
Yep.
Oh.
Hey, Scott,
Cool.
give him the advice of why it shouldn't be 2 at 4 years each. What if it was 4 at 2 years each? What's the value of that? The diversification.
Well, I don't know that I would tell him it shouldn't be 2 gigs at 4 years each. I mean, if you can pull that off, then more power to you. And you could potentially get really big win at each of those things. However, if there was an advantage to doing 4 gigs at 2 years, you're selling different products, getting exposure to different types of sales cycles and price points. You might need different structures. So let's say you build an inside sales team the first time, an outside sales team the next time, an SDR AE model the next time. You know what I'm saying? Like, so you could get experience doing lots of different types of things. Presumably you have a larger network of people that you've worked alongside, potentially in 4 gigs versus 2. Although if those 4 gigs are all super small companies and the 2 gigs for 4 years become larger companies, maybe the argument dissipates a little bit, but there's that possibility. And then, you know, from an equity perspective, like,
yes,
it's a different way to play roulette, right? So rather than putting all your chips on, you know, black number 5,
Yep.
right? Now you're covering 4 different numbers on the board, you know, and you give yourself a better chance for some type of, you know, some type of win, right? That could be an advantage, Richard.
that was the one I was waiting for you, you know, is that we already know that the average VP of sales doesn't last 4 years.
Yep.
And if you can find one and it works, then hallelujah, right? Because you should get a whole lot more, of your equity out of it. It should be a big win, all those things.
Yep.
But it's also okay to have the mindset of, well, maybe it is 4 at, 3 at 2.5 years, or 4 at 2 years each, and you diversify your opportunity for a win. And maybe 2 of them become a win, or 3 of them become a win. Scott, you've been a 6-time VP of sales, right? Right. How many of them?
Yeah.
How many of them had a successful exit where you actually got something?
Where I actually got something. 2.
Right. So
2.
Yeah. So that being said, you might want to think about having 3. Right.
Yeah. So that 1 pounds out.
Yeah. I mean, I'm batting 333. I'm in the Hall of Fame, Richard.
Yes.
Yeah, man.
Yes. So
unlike Barry Bonds, I'm in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah. So, which is a whole other discussion. All right. So Jason, we dug in deep on you on that one. We pontificated.
Well, we stopped short though. We didn't get to a place of what's his time horizon for traveling all over.
That's right.
Yeah.
So I would imagine right around the time that I cut the W-2 would be like when I would want to start traveling much more heavily. I travel a lot now, just like a full disclosure. I take at least 6 trips a year, but I would want to take like 1 a month. So that's probably within the next 10 years.
So that's doable alongside when you start working on your own. I was thinking of it more in terms of like, that's all I want to do. I don't want to work anymore. That's just like my retirement. And so I don't think okay.
I don't think I'll ever not work.
He's not dreaming like you, Scott, where we have surf and sales every week, right? And
I don't know. He just said he wants to go on 1 trip a month.
Right.
12 months.
So,
seems like
I'm in hospitality though, so I can travel and work.
Yeah. Okay.
So what other kind of questions you want to ask? What you come to us, like we can keep just throwing shit at you, and we could shoot all over you all day long. We're very good at it. But
I completely forgot about the format about this that you posted, Richard. So I came into this expecting just a regular format of surf and sales. I have a few questions we can kind of dive into.
Yeah, go for it.
Really quick, Scott mentioned something about putting everything on black, number 5. Just a quick story. A couple of years, it was 10 years ago now at this point. It was like our 3rd anniversary. My wife and I went to Vegas, and we're out, I don't know, it was in my 20s. We're out one of the nightclubs partying. Around 4 or 5 a.m. we stumble out of one of these nightclubs, and of course they have the perfect setup, all of the tables, roulette tables, blackjack tables. Or we're walking by one of the roulette tables that has a streak of like 6 red numbers, and I have $100 chip left. And I'm like, screw it, I'm putting it on black 15. Put it down on black 15. Dealer throws the ball. I don't know what they're called. He throws the little roulette ball. As he's waving his hand, like, no more bets, my wife is like, no, you're crazy. You can't put $100 on black 15. She takes it off and puts it on black. And I'll give you, 33 to 1 odds to take a guess at what what it landed on.
Oh my God, I feel sick to my stomach already.
Yeah.
Black 15. I was like, no. Dude, that would have paid for my whole trip.
Right. Oh my God. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it.
Just a quick story that you kind of like triggered in my mind.
So let me ask you this. Are you, I don't mean the actual act of it, but are you a risk taker gambler by nature?
I am not risk averse, if that's what you're asking.
Okay.
Yeah.
Would you, Scott and I played this game, would you get into a Shark Tank in a shark cage?
Yeah. It's on my bucket list. So actually I went to Australia, and we dove the Great Barrier Reef and stuff. I would totally, like, South Africa is on my list, and I would totally go cage diving with sharks. I've gone diving, I mean, not great whites, but I've gone diving with sharks without a cage.
Scott's sitting here, for those who can't see, like in shock and awe, because we played this game in Costa Rica. So talk a little bit more about, like, how did you even decide you wanted to be in sales? Like, how did you, like, even, or was it, I'm going to go into business, so I went to the banks and that's where I started? And then what made you transition?
Yeah, I wanted to study finance, and I initially started studying finance, and I had an ex-girlfriend at the time that had a a family member that worked at Wachovia, one of the the banks that was bought out by Wells Fargo many years ago.
Yeah, I did well in that stock. That was a good one.
Oh, okay, nice. Well, she got me a job as a teller back then. Just I was fresh out of high school and just needed a job just as I was part-time job as I was going to college. What they don't tell you when you are applying for a job as a teller is that you are expected to sell. You're kind of like an SDR for the bankers. You're expected to sell bank accounts, credit cards, debit cards, online banking, all of this stuff to people coming in to make deposits, cash checks, all of that kind of stuff. And I hated that. I did not want to be in sales. Like I had no interest whatsoever being in sales. Didn't like talking to people. I still consider myself an introvert. And just kind of off topic here, if you have not read the book Quiet by Susan Cain, very, very powerful book. I would recommend to anyone that considers himself an introvert. But anyway, I mean, I just, kind of grew from there. I wound up, embracing what I needed to do. I was really good at the service side, had perfect scores on all my service and everything, but, was receptive to coaching, improved my numbers, made the referrals to the bankers, eventually was promoted to banker, personal banker, then business banker, then merchant processing. But I never wanted to be in sales. I just kind of landed in it. And then because I am very competitive as a person and I just don't like being bad at things, have a thirst for hunger, I just continued to improve the skills that I need or that I needed. Even to this day, I'm still continuing to improve those skills. And that's just kind of, how I fell into sales, but I never really wanted to be in sales. The earning potential has kept me around. But yeah, that's, long-winded answer to your question, Richard.
The dichotomy of somebody who never really thought that they would be in sales or wanted to be in sales, and his sign on the back in neon on the wall that says hustle right above a serene, calming fish tank is not lost on me, Richard.
I get it. He's built a very smart environment for his success, which matters. That's cool. It's cool. So what kind of things are you're a first time director of sales, right? What kind of things, what kind of questions do you have around that? Like, what are you running into as a challenge? Maybe we could offer some support there.
Yeah. So some of the, I guess, so I had a couple of questions prepared for you guys. So assuming that you have, you have product market fit, you have a solid go-to-market strategy, what are the first, what's like the top, 1 or 2 things you absolutely are critical that you need to nail within, the first 3 to 6 months?
As a director of sales.
As a director of sales.
How big is your team right now?
Yeah.
We are 3.
Okay. Scott, you want to go first? I think I know your answer.
And we have outsourced SDRs.
You have outsourced SDRs. Okay. The first thing that you need to do is accurately define your ICP and your buyer personas, and then lock in and write down the messaging. So whatever your sales script is, whatever your demo is, however you want to handle objections, document everything basically. And that's what people don't do at early stages in sales orgs. They keep everything siloed away in their head. And it's impossible to share it with everybody. There's no single source of truth. So document everything, get it out of your head and onto paper. Then do the actual work yourself. You need to be the one to make calls, close deals, build pipeline, all that stuff. So you have expertise and experience dealing with your buyer, and the team believes in you, and you get buy-in there from everybody. So those are the first couple things that I would focus on. It's just like building everything out, the foundation, all the playbook kind of stuff. And then you be the one to execute along with the couple reps that you have. That's encompasses plenty in the first like 60 to 90 days. What do you think, Rich?
Yeah, I was curious as to what you thought that timeline was, because so often we come in as a director of sales and we spend all this time, first writing the playbook, and we so focus on it, we're not even talking to customers. Like that's probably, I know that's one of the mistakes I made early on, thinking that, oh, now I'm in management, I just need to go and build these things. I don't have to talk to people anymore, right? And certainly that limited some of my scope, but I learned a lot from that. So just out of curiosity, real quick, average deal size, sales cycle?
Sales cycle is interesting. It's about 60 to 90 days right now.
Okay.
More on the 90-day end.
Okay. Can you share deal size?
We just started. So it varies. Deals can be 40, 50,000 ARR all the way up to like 400 or 500,000 ARR right now.
Okay.
Depends on the size of the client.
Those are good, healthy deals. Okay.
Very, very healthy deals. We're targeting more of the lower end because we just feel like they're the lower hanging fruit. Easier.
Well, one of the things that is smart as far as targeting the lower end goes, this is a chance for you to practice and kind of refine your pitch and refine your sales process and refine your onboarding experience and making sure customers are, happy and engaged and adopting the product. It's also a chance for you to get product feedback at the low end of the market. The users that you get, they'll probably break the product. So they debug it like crazy. And so you want to do all those things often at the lower end of the market before you go to the top end. Because if you start at the top end and you shank some of this stuff, you might not get another AB for, a year, 2 years, maybe never, depending on how bad you shank it, right? So I think starting at the low end and using that as validation and then slowly working your way up market is a good strategy.
Yep.
How much are you, per Scott's advice, how much are you actually selling and closing to customers?
I'm on calls every day. I'm actively, so I carry a bag.
You do? Okay. That's great. And to Scott's point, that builds all the trust with your team. It builds it to your upper management. That is how yes, sometimes you'll get topped off by a new VP of sales, but that's how you'll get there, because you will carry that number with you. So, Scott, I know one of your favorite things is to get ops as soon as possible, right?
Yeah.
Do you have a sales ops yet, Jason?
No. I'm an assistant sales director who I'm trying to form into kind of a sales ops type of role. And actually Scott inspired me to start kind of handing some of this stuff off with I've been following, since you hired JM and all of that. And so I'm trying to pass off as much as I can on our CRM, functionality and, just kind of maintaining that, documenting things, that kind of stuff. I spent actually the first, 2 weeks building out our CRM and tech stack. And then I spent, the last 2 weeks also just doing it again because we switched CRMs. So that's work that you ideally don't want to be doing. Right.
A couple of weeks that you already did and a couple of weeks more that you're about to do because you switched or whatever, like that's a month's worth of lost time and energy and progress. Right.
Yep.
So there's nothing you can do about it now in this particular gig, but when and if the time comes when you go to your next gig and you're building something from scratch, don't get yourself in the weeds there. Don't be the one behind the wheel, building out the CRM and all this kind of stuff. You've got to lobby and successfully get a resource who knows how to do all that. And I understand the idea of like taking somebody and kind of trying to mold them and push them that particular way. But guess what? What does that take that is your worst enemy in a early stage startup?
Oh, my time.
That's right. Yeah. Time. It takes time. So while that person's learning all sorts of things, if we hired somebody else like a JM who knew what to do straight away, bang, off she goes, shot out of a cannon. We're a little, farther ahead of the game, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Scott, just out of curiosity, he's been there 90 days. Has he waited too long to go after an ops person?
No. He has. Yes, he's waited. Let me rephrase. Yes, he's waited too long. There's nothing he can do about that, though.
Right.
So now he should try to go after somebody who knows what they're doing. And this person he's trying to mold, if anything, that person could become a junior kind of analyst, ops kind of person, but you really need somebody there who's got some chops and who's been there and done that before and is a real partner for you, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
No, I mean, you should be able to successfully lobby to get that budget if the reps that you have are producing and you're producing, and it's like you basically have data to show I figured this thing out.
Right.
We've cracked the code. This is working. In order for it to scale further, here's the resources that I need and why. And this is what they'll allow me to do. That's the argument that you need to be able to articulate.
Are you ready to go have that conversation, or have you had it internally yet, Jason?
We haven't had that conversation. I think we probably will be ready to have that conversation in the next month or two.
Why a month or two?
So I spent the first couple months doing a lot of, like, I don't want to say that everything was kind of a mess, but there was no structure to anything.
That's a startup. That's not a mess.
Yeah.
It's just the way it is.
So,
like that. There's
exactly.
nothing negative about that.
Right. So I spent a lot of time just building.
So what I'm hearing him not say, Richard, is that they're not closing deals and locking in enough demos and pipeline where he comfortably can say, we've got this shit figured out. Therefore, if he goes to have that argument, he might lose the argument. So he's not
going to stand on yet.
No, he's not going to have it until he's in a position of strength.
Is that it, Jason?
Exactly. Yeah, that's it. Exactly.
All right.
Yeah.
So
I have it written on my forehead here. Yeah, no, listen, we were working on building systems, processes, and cracking the code, to Scott's point, and the deals are starting to come in. This month alone, I think we sold the biggest deal ever, and then we broke that record. So, we're taking the right steps, we're doing the right things. It's just, need to be in that position of power, like Scott.
I would tell you to draw a line in the sand as the goal and define that, right? So that because you've already closed deals and you just said you closed the biggest deals. So some people might be like, you're already in a position of strength, dude.
That's where my head is. I'm like, what the fuck's going on?
Yeah. So it's arguable that you're being overly cautious, but let's just say that you're not. So what you should do is say, okay, when everybody on my team hits quota, or when everybody on my team has sold 10 deals apiece, or when we have sold a grand total of 25 deals as a company, or when we have $1 million of ARR, this is, when I'm going to go make this case, right? So set a goal for yourself and a timeline. So it's not so ambiguous and it's more real, right? Because keep in mind, even when you go to have that argument, it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to win straight away.
Right.
If you do win, you still got to go recruit this person.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you successfully recruit them, you still got to onboard them a little bit. So there's a lag, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really good advice, actually. And I had not thought of just kind of just like you said, just draw a line in the sand for yourself. And at that point, that's when, ideally I should have legs to stand on, and be able to, present my case, why, like you said earlier, why I need this person, what it's going to allow me to do, what it's going to allow the team to do.
So set that goal. What's your goal going to be? When do you want to?
Man, that's a good question. Let's see. I am going to set a goal of, I think when we hit 1 million ARR this year, which won't be too long. That'll be like maybe next month. I'll go ahead and have that conversation.
Yeah. So, okay. So let me push you then with this timeline and this plan, if you will. Okay. So you're going to hit the number next month. So you need to have the argument / discussion. Could be very peaceful, I suppose. Could be successful, but it also could be an argument. You're going to have this conversation by early March, hopefully at the latest, right? Mm-hmm. So March becomes your recruiting month for that person. And April, the start of Q2, is when ideally you have a butt in a seat and they're onboarded, right?
Yeah.
I want you to just mentally kind of start to assimilate that timeline.
Yeah.
Does that freak you out?
No, actually, I love this exercise because I haven't thought of it in this way, and it.
Well, what you're building out now is a bit of a sales forecast and a sales plan, and you're kind of capacity planning, right?
Yeah.
So that will you do that allows you to, get a lot more. You can codify everything a lot more. They can help with lead flow, lead routing, reporting, all this stuff frees you up to manage more reps. If those 2 reps have hit $1 million in ARR, you could probably time the onboarding of the ops person with adding a couple more reps, because a lot of the training and onboarding stuff is going to be repetitive. So if you're going to train one person, you might as well train 3 or 4, right? You got to train them about the company. You got to train them about the product. You got to train them about the industry that you're in potentially. All of those things are, the same regardless of somebody's job function and even department, right?
Yeah.
So now you might be saying in your capacity planning and your forecasting to your boss, you might say, hey, listen, this is what's going to happen. We're going to hit $1 million in ARR in February. I'm going to come to you and say, I need a head of sales ops, which is like a director level, my level kind of senior person. Here's why, here's what they're going to do. Here's going to be the impact of those people. I'm going to time that with taking our team from 2 AEs to 5 AEs. So I'm going to add 3 more reps in there. And we're going to start April with a team of 5 AEs, a RevOps person, and me. And then bang, now set goals for Q2 and potentially into Q3 and say to start Q3 or start Q4, like these are the heads that I'm going to need. This is the tool I might need. Now you're building out an annual kind of plan.
Yep.
Right. And the vision starts to become clearer.
Absolutely.
And you're dictating it and demonstrating that you're thinking strategically rather than just doing what you're doing and waiting for your CEO or boss to be like, yeah, we should probably hire more people, Jason, don't you think? Or, you see the difference?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, no, I love the way that you just kind of broke it down step by step, the way like it sounds so simple when you say it that way.
Well, it's simple to say it, it's the doing of it all that is complicated sometimes.
It's the discipline and the focus, which is where I struggle. So that's, but I got it. So I was sitting here going, Scott's going to send Jason an invoice for this, or maybe he's going to send it to Journey. He's going to send Journey an invoice and say, you owe me. Or Scott's going to be like, give me this recording, Richard. I'm going to turn this into an ebook. This is how you do it. So
yeah, I'm going to take this episode and just going to send it to Jason's CEO.
Right.
And just say, hey, you got the right guy in place, but he needs a little guidance maybe.
Yeah.
He'll love it, man.
I would never do that. Jason's going to take this episode and run with it himself and look like a fucking rock star.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, he'll love that, man. So Scott, you sent me, I don't know if you remember, you sent me your book when you released it, and I read that. It helped a lot, but I bought him a copy because it was so helpful, and I sent it to him. I don't know if he's finished it yet, but he was getting through it and he liked it as well.
Great.
There you go. There you go. So I want to shift for you. Let's say you're going to go out and you're going to go try and find this ops person.
Mm-hmm.
Do you even know what you're looking for? Do you know
how
to interview?
What I'm looking for is JM 2.0, I guess.
Yeah, that's a smart answer, but also a cop out and a way to avoid it.
Yes.
Yeah. No, I mean, to Scott's point earlier, you kind of hit on this. Someone that really can get into the weeds of the systems and the process.
Yeah, but how do you know if they have that? Right? Because I can put LinkedIn will let me be anything I want to be. Right?
That's true. That's true.
So I'm curious, like, what are the things that matter in your mind? And, I know Scott's going to go on another diatribe, but I think it's worthy of a strong sales ops person as you think about journey and you think about where you are at the moment.
Yeah. So when I think about a strong sales ops person, I think of someone that has some kind of sales background, maybe not a ton, but enough to be able to get by.
Love that and agree, by the way.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely. I mean,
So what does that mean?
We have
Does
to
that
be
mean
able to.
a year? Does that mean a
I would,
year
yeah.
SDR, AE? Do you care? Just something?
My personal, well, I mean, if it was an AE, I would have questions around maybe why are you coming off of an AE role for, like a sales ops type of role. But yeah, I would, it doesn't really matter if it's SDR, BDR, just some kind of at least a year sales experience.
Okay.
So that I know that we can just speak the same language, right? But more than anything, I'm looking for someone that can really get into the weeds, that has, first of all, managed a CRM and a tech stack, and that has done it consistently and hopefully has documented what they've done in the past. Because salespeople, I'm sure you guys know this, are like notoriously bad at keeping their CRMs up to date. So
remind everybody, Scott. Remind everybody, what kind of CRM do you have, Scott?
I don't have one.
You have an Excel sheet.
That's it. That's right. Yeah. Exhibit A.
Right.
Exhibit A, Jason. Exhibit A.
Good point that they can document stuff. What else?
Yeah. So they have to be able to document stuff. And I would want some kind of like technical capability there. Maybe some background as an analyst, or some kind of technical background that would enable them to like build the reports I'm going to need, and build out the CRM and integrate all the tools we need and all of that kind of stuff.
Scott, does this unicorn exist where someone's done a year of sales and
of course it does. Of course it does. It's like, listen, JM was a sales rep for a year. Then she was a sales manager for a year or so. Then she was an SDR manager for a couple years. Then she moved into ops. And then, so you're looking at 5, almost 6 years of sales experience. I'm thinking my other ops leader, a woman by the name of Claire Morris, she was in customer success and then kind of account management and then revenue generating in customer success, and then moved into operations. So, not like outbounding sales, but similar kind of stuff. So upselling, retention, this kind of things, and just very close overall to the sales experience. Yeah. I think it's really important to have somebody who understands what salespeople go through.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah. And the reason I was pushing there a little bit is, Jason, you said, well, at least someone who's been in SDR, right? Which I hear that and I'm thinking, oh, they got 6 to 12 months, which isn't bad. Like, you're right, they have some level of sales experience. But what Scott's described is, something really special, right? Mm-hmm. Which I don't know if that's really, maybe you were thinking what Scott was saying and just didn't articulate it, or does that make you kind of go, oh, I should look for that kind of person?
Yeah, so definitely makes me think I should look for that kind of person and hope I can find that kind of person. Yeah, but I would still, I don't know that my just personal qualification would be, that they need to have like 5 or 6 different sales gigs. Everyone learns at their own pace. So as long as they've done the work at some point and they are, well versed in sales to some capacity, like I said, that we can just speak the same language, then that would.
Everybody learns at their own pace, Jason, but you need them to learn at your pace.
Okay, that's true. Yep.
Scott, what else should he? I know we've flown by. I'm going to ask Scott for one more piece of advice to give to Jason on this topic, but a quick shout out to our sponsors of Scratchpad and Sendoso for supporting Surf and Sales. By all means, folks, go check out surfandsales.com. May is sold out. We got slots in November, although the first session in November only has a couple left.
I think there's only 2 left.
Yeah. So Jason, since you love to travel, we expect you to register now.
I'm trying to get my CEO to come with me.
Oh, there you go.
There you go.
Yeah.
Don't wait on them. Just book yours. You don't need to wait on them. But Scott, what else? Only because we're crunched for time. What are the other things, Scott, that Jason or someone else should look for as you're trying to find that good ops person? What are the other things that matter to you?
I think the most important thing is somebody who's proactive rather than reactive. You want somebody who's doing work and then coming to you saying, hey, look what I just found. I just figured out by looking at this report that we suck at the following, blah, 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 blah. Thought you should know that because you might want to do something about it. What you don't need is somebody who just builds reports and then tells you nothing and gives you no insight. So you're looking for somebody who's proactively giving you insights that tell you what you need to work on in your coaching and what the reps need to work on. That I can't understate that enough. So,
Does that seem reasonable to you, Jason? Does that sound like stuff you would want?
That absolutely sounds like stuff I would want, because this guy does that right now. So yeah.
You're ready to get that stuff over. All right, cool.
Yeah.
Time for one more question if you got one, Jason. Otherwise, we'll wrap it up.
I do. Yeah. So this one is not a little bit, not a serious note here. I was listening to your podcast with Alexis Scott, and, she asked you about who your most surprising guest was. And I think you both agreed that you were surprised about someone that you had on that you guys thought was, a little bit dull. And, but you were surprised about the number of downloads. And so my question to you both is, would either one of you be okay with being perceived or coming off as super boring if it means that your podcast, maybe because your counterpart or whatever, for whatever reason, goes viral, or, if it means that your podcast becomes like an even bigger hit?
Would we be okay with the podcast being a hit, Richard, if the perception of us was that we were boring?
Would you personally, Scott, be okay? And you, Richard?
If the perception of Richard is boring?
Yeah.
I don't think.
I already have imposter syndrome. So the answer to that is I already do think I'm bored.
I don't think I would be okay with it.
I don't know that I would. And I also don't know how that would happen, because I can only be me and be my authentic self. And then people will tell me if they like me or not. Like that's kind of it. But it's an interesting question.
It's a great question. I don't think I could do it. I really don't. I think I would get discouraged. If enough people were like, man, you're really boring, I think I would probably get discouraged. I'm just being honest. That's the opposite of what people would probably tell you. Don't give up, don't quit, da da da. I just know me. I'd be like, I could do something else with my time that I would enjoy more and would be more lucrative.
I don't know. I guess the question is, how would it take off if people thought we were boring?
Well, I don't know. Why was the one episode downloaded so much if it was dull? That's what he's getting at.
Yeah. But that's just
but I really just meant like one of you. Like, let's say Richard, you were perceived as being boring, and Scott was like the charismatic one, or vice versa. Like, let's say it was,
and Scott would take off on his own and leave me behind.
No, I mean, it's still Surf and Sales. You still do it together, but
this is just a lead singer syndrome, Richard.
Right?
Yeah.
Are you okay being the drummer?
Totally fine being the drummer. I probably get jealous a little bit, but I'm okay, because there are times where my imposter syndrome kicks in. So, look, Scott Leese is officially Steven Tyler as far as I'm concerned. I'm totally fine with that. I am not, and I don't need to be Joe Perry. I can be the rhythm guitar guy. I'm okay being rhythm. So, but Scott's definitely is definitely Steven Tyler.
What a great question. Good question, Jason.
Yeah, that was good.
Well done. Appreciate you spending some time with us, man, and good luck in this new director level role. And just know that we're here to help and support you in any way we can. Thanks everybody for listening. We'll see you next time on the Surf and Sales podcast.
Yeah, if anybody wants to come in and do an episode like this, hit us up on LinkedIn. We'd be glad to do this one again.